Hi everyone, my name is Steph, this is the Novelty Corner and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a books beside my bed video for you where I wrap up the last 7 days worth of reading. In this video I'm going to be talking about my reading week from the 1st until the 7th of April, and I'm specifically going to be talking about the 6 things that I read that were not part of the anthology short stories that I was reading for my Try an Author Rare edition, which I will leave linked on the screen. You guys can go check that out. I did actually read 20 different authors and 20 different short stories for that video in this week. I did have one DNF this week and it was Flirtosaurus by RARE Melbourne. I had this out as an audio on Libby and I started listening to it, and honestly, I just found the heroine insufferable to listen to. It was very much a play on the not like other girls trope where the heroine has just gotten a job at a museum and is part of a team working on creating an exhibit for dinosaurs. But yeah, I try really hard not to have issues with female characters and the way they're written in books, but this one, I was listening to it and I was just getting more and more angry the longer I listened to it, so I had to stop it and I just returned the book because I was never going to come back to it, which sucks because it's such a cool concept. As I said, I also read a whole stack of short stories for anthologies. So there was the Nightingale anthology, the Descent anthology, Hell Hath No Fury, Hot, and also Heart to Heart Volume 6. So again, if you want to see my review of those books, check out the vlog. In terms of other things that I read this week, I was trying to continue reading some authors who were going to be attending RARE, and I read The Vacation by Anna Ashley. This was an MMM novella story about 3 guys who end up going on a vacation on an island. One of the heroes, Felix, is best friends with 2 other guys. Those 2 other guys used to be friends. However, in the past couple of years, they've really stopped talking to one another, and he's determined to figure out what's going on because he is in love with both of them. This is a polyam story. It is set on an island, so there's forced proximity, and Felix's 2 friends have to work out their feelings for one another. It's very, very short. I also read Mr. Fairfax, Mr. West, and the Meet Cute by Anyta Sunday. This is another story. This time it's set at a Jane Austen camp, and Josh, who is Mr. Fairfax, is attending the camp. He studies literature and is an Austen fan, and he and some of his colleagues are going to this Austen camp, and that includes his ex-boyfriend who has a new boyfriend and has brought the new boyfriend along, and so Josh is feeling kind of uncomfortable and he fakes having a boyfriend who happens to be an employee at the camp, and this is Mr. West. And then he gets caught out in a lie while West is there, and West ups the ante and basically outs them as being fiancés. So there is a fake engagement in here. These 2 guys getting to know one another and spending time together, all while dressed up in fancy Austen era clothes and acting the way gentlemen would in those days. So it was very short and very sweet, and I had forgotten that I had read one other Anyta Sunday book. I'd read, I can't remember which one it was. It's the first book in the Signs of Love series. So I'd totally forgotten that I'd read that book. I also read Gloria by Simone, which is a short story that takes place after Sinner in the Priest universe. So this is a really short snapshot of Zenny and Sean's wedding. It starts at the end of the dress rehearsal and they're going to their separate hotels for the night, but they have to both drop things off at the church beforehand, but they're timed differently, so they're supposed to miss one another. However, when Sean gets there, he finds that Zenny is stuck in the church because her car has been snowed in the car park, and by the time he goes out to try and move the snow for her car, his car also gets snowed in, and so they're stuck in the church overnight. So if you are a fan of all the steamy scenes in churches as part of the series, you will really like the story. It was nice just to revisit these characters, and I'd forgotten how much time passed between Sinner and Saint, because when we see the other Bell brothers, I'd forgotten that Aidan at this point was not yet a monk. And I love Aidan. And then, because I'm me, I read 3 hockey romances this week. I started off with On the Ice by Amy Aislin, who is going to RARE. I read a lot of MM books this week. That was not intentional. I'm starting at the top of my RARE author list, and this is how we went. Anyway, so this is an MM college hockey romance, and it's about Mitch, who is determined to make the NHL draft, but he's also got an alternate career planned in sort of sports medicine. He unintentionally meets Alex, who is an NHL player who is injured and not playing currently because he has a broken arm. He's staying in town and is a former student at Mitch's college. And so they start talking. Mitch flirts outrageously with Alex, but Alex is demisexual and is very open about that with Mitch and says, you know, pretty much, yeah, you're cute, but nothing's going to happen because that's not the way that I do relationships. The thing that I liked about this story is that both of them have these career paths outside of hockey as well. Mitch is determined to do really well at college, to have this backup plan in place. Alex, while he is still playing hockey, is also writing a book and is pursuing that sort of author career path at the same time. I also really like the exploration of being in a relationship with someone who is demisexual, particularly given that Mitch is not used to that. He's used to instant gratification and people just saying yes to him because he is attractive, and them having to work through that dynamic through the course of the story. This does also have a subplot of Alex's grandfather who has dementia and is living in an assisted care facility, and he's quite unwell through the story, and he does pass away throughout the course of the book, so there is grief and loss of a grandparent. I thought it was a really interesting story, and I'm looking forward to meeting Amy Aislin at RARE. I'll probably continue this series because I'm very intrigued by some of the other side characters. I also read Iced Out by C.E. Ricci. This was a hockey romance that I had on my KU TBR. It is an college hockey rivals to lovers story. You have Quinton, who is the bad boy, and Oakley, who is the golden child who comes from a hockey lineage. And they've both played on opposing teams since they were kids, and in college they end up on the same team, and they just can't get their dynamic together because they just antagonize each other so much. And then there is one scene where they're out at a party and they have kind of this angry hookup in one of the bathrooms, and then the next day their team wins, and being the superstitious lot that hockey players are, they convince themselves that this is the set of conditions that set up their win. But of course, the longer they spend with each other and the more they learn about each other and sort of address their misconceptions of one another, the closer they become and actual real feelings get involved. There is a drug scandal in here, which is a setup to try and discredit Quinton. Part of the conflict in the story is that Oakley had a suspicion about it but never did anything. So if that's going to be triggering for you, be aware of that, because I spent the whole time just going, just tell someone. Just tell someone. But I didn't write the book, so I'm just going to leave it. I found it really interesting. There's a lot of hockey on page, which is basically my criteria for enjoying a hockey romance. You're not going to have any time actually playing the sport. It's not really a sports romance, but that's just my opinion. And then I picked up another RARE author, although this author I've already met. I met her when I went to the ARA signing, and the book I read was Sticks and Stone by Grace McGinty. This is a why choose polyamorous relationship between 3 men and 1 woman. It is about Nick, whose parents have died in sort of the last 6 weeks in a car accident, and then she discovers that she has a 6-week-old baby half-brother whose mother has just died, and she is the closest blood relative left living. She didn't know that her dad had an affair, but she is determined to take in this baby and to give it a family and a home. The baby's name is Huey. He's very cute. But when they go to the hearing, there are 2 other men who were in the foster system with the mother of the child, and they're basically Huey's uncles. Nova is awarded custody, but the uncles then come to her with a proposition. There is an NHL enforcer, a CEO of a company who is worth millions, and their best friend Rigby, who is another hockey player. And they propose that in order to support her raising Huey, because they want to be in his life, that she move into their mansion with them, and they'll help with the night feedings and make sure that she can still work and all of that. And of course, they will begin to develop feelings for one another. There is no sword crossing in this book, which was disappointing, but I actually really enjoyed all of the characters, especially Rigby, who was the golden retriever of the group. He's the best friend and is just an absolute sweetheart who's trying to help everyone in this relationship figure out their feelings, because Devon and River, who are Huey's uncles, are very closed off because of their experiences in the foster system. We don't get huge amounts of details, but we do get hints that things were not particularly great for them. So there is that, if that's a trigger for you. And of course, there is the fallout when their relationship becomes public, and there's also a stalker plotline in the story as well. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was fun. It was very easy to read and just engaging, and what I needed on a Friday night. So that is what I have read in the last week. In the comments, I would love to know what you have been reading, so feel free to let me know down below, or if you want to talk about these books because you've read them before, feel free to have a chat about them as well. Otherwise, if you just want to let me know that you're here but you don't want to leave a comment, leave any kind of emoji that represents holidays to you, because I am on holidays and I am planning on reading a lot. I hope that wherever you are in the world, you're staying safe and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye everyone.